Actually, this is not my first time in Sweden, and every time that I come to Sweden, I'm tweaked by the weather. Last time it was raining 24/7, and it was in August. So this time, I thought that I will be prepared. I brought a heavy coat. It's in the hotel. It's heavy coat, umbrella, anything that you can think about. But we have so nice weather, so I can come like this. Okay. Several weeks ago, I spoke in Israel, and 2 days ago, I was in the Intelligent Cloud Conference, and I spoke about exactly the same topic. And it's not matter where I go in the world, probably everywhere have the same goals. If you like to lower expenses and you want at the same time to improve your daily work, then you probably came to the right place. In short, my name is Ronen Ariely. I'm from Israel. I work as a senior consultant in the field of data platforms and developing applications. Now, one of my main areas of interest is the architecture. And this includes, of course, designing the data platform and choosing the right database that we want to use for the project. And this takes us directly to the topic of today's meeting. Let's assume that you already decided that you are using Azure SQL Database as a service. You still have 3 different options of deployment that we need to choose from. The first option, the most common, is to use is to manage each database separately as Azure SQL Database. The third option, it's a new one named Managed Instant. I will mention it at the end of the lecture. During the next 50 minutes or so, I will focus on the second option, which is using Elastic Pools. Now, in addition to Elastic Pools, I want to talk about another service named Azure Database Elastic Jobs. Those 2 services are part of a set of tools that are called Azure Elastic Tools. At the end of the lecture, if we will have time, we probably will, I will mention some other tools in the Azure Elastic Tools, and I want to show in short how this is all related to big data. So let's start Elastic Pool. What is Elastic Pool? In short, Elastic Pool is an entity that binds together several databases which are managed under shared resources. Now, this is a bit complex sentence to understand, so in order to understand Elastic Pool, let's first remember how we manage separate databases in the Azure. So when we manage Azure SQL Database, we first of all need to choose the pricing model. We can use the old and the familiar model, which is using Database Transaction Unit, DTU. And there is a new option which based on vCore. I will mention it at the end, so don't ask about this option. Once we decided about the pricing model, we start to allocate dedicated resources for each database. And this is a very big advantage because we don't have any dependency of the activity in other databases. So if one database has a problem, we don't care because we manage dedicated resources for each database separately. And for example, we can see those graphs illustrate 3 databases which are managed separately, and they have pretty much random activity. If you will check more carefully, you can notice that each one of those databases have a peak of 100 DTU. So if we want to manage those as a separate databases in the Azure, we will need to pay at least 100 DTU for each of those databases, which means we pay Microsoft 300 resource units. But now check this graph. This is the total amount of DTU that we are using from all those 3 databases. Simple math of the other graphs. And you can notice that, in fact, we do not use more than 200 resource units in this example. Because yes, we have a peak of 100 DTU in each databases, but not at the same time. Yes.
Are those resource graphs, resource demand graphs, built in Azure? So you can get them for free, or
what? These graphs?
Yes.
No, but we have it in my session materials. You will have everything to download. I will mention it. The last. No, it's good question. You know what is the difference between good question and great question? It's very known answer. A good question is a question that's relevant to the lecture, but a great question is something that I already prepared. So I have a slide for this. Okay, so no, it's not Microsoft materials, but you will have it for me. Okay, so if we actually check the math, we will see that we do not use more than 200 resource units in total. So the question is, why not to manage those databases as one entity and share the resources? And this is exactly what we have if we are using the new option of Elastic Pool. If we will take this theoretically graphs to the Elastic Pool, we immediately, without doing anything, we will need to pay for less than 200 resource units. But this will be shared resource unit, eDTU, Elastic DTU. And this is much better than to pay for 300 resource units. Let's see it in action. We will create a Elastic Pool and play with this a bit. So the best option to start is to use the search box. Just write pool, select the option SQL Elastic Pools, and we can go to this. Here we can add a new pool, and if this is your first time that you use it, so I highly recommend just to follow each step. If not, we will go to manage a pool in a second. So we need to enter the name of the pool, of course, select the subscription and select the resource group. But we also need to select a server instance. Now, this option is very important. It's always raised question in the forums. Elastic Pool is an instance level element, which means I cannot take databases from different instances and put them under the same Elastic Pool using the portal. There are other options to manage them. Okay, once you select the server instance, we can start to configure our new pool. Let's go inside. As you can see, first of all, we have several options to select the pricing tier. Each pricing tier that you select will give us more setting options. So the basic pricing tier will give us only the option to configure the amount of eDTU, the amount of resource unit for the entire pool, for all the databases inside. If we go to the standard option, then we will get another option to configure the maximum data size. Again, the maximum data for all the databases together. And if we go to the premium, we get a very cool new option. Soon redundant. Anyone know what is soon redundant? Okay, before I continue. You see this? This is something new. Okay, you need to picture it. I need a chair.
Sure, okay, sure.
Yeah, I want to throw and to show you what we have here. This I brought for you. All this is gift. Giveaway gift from the sponsor of the Intelligent Cloud Conference. I collected some gifts, as you see, a lot. A lot. And if you participate and be active, you can get those. At least third of this package I can give. So now I ask again, and we have gift. Anyone know what is zone redundant? Anyone heard about zone in the Azure? Okay, so this is a off topic, but it's important to know. You probably know that we have in the Azure the option to have geo-redundant. Geo-redundant is based on a replication in different regions. But now think if you are working now in US and you are using a region near your place, and now you have an issue and you need to move to another region because something happened in this area. When you will move to the next region, to your secondary, you will feel a latency. Your application will probably stop working as well as they worked before. Why? Because that distance between regions can be hundreds of kilometers. So Microsoft started a new option, and this is not related only to Elastic Pool or only to databases. You can use it for virtual machine, etc. And it's cool. It's based on Zoom. Zoom is a separate, physically separate location within the same region. So using Zoom redundant, now we can get the same idea of a backup, but in the same area. Okay, back to our lecture. If you do select to use Zoom redundant, so you will need to confirm the term of use, simply because this is in preview yet. Once you confirm it, we can continue. Next tab that I have, it's the databases. Here we can configure the databases inside the pool. So let's go here and we can add databases to the new pool. You can notice that in my demo, there are several databases which are already in a different pool. And there is one database which is standard S0, meaning it's not in any pool. So we can select it and add it to the new pool. Let's close this because we want to move to the next option, database setting. This is a cool option, which in my opinion, you must use it by default. It gives you the option to limit the minimum and maximum amount of eDTU for each of the databases inside the pool. Why we need it? We use shared resources. Think about what will happen if we have an issue with one database and it starts to want to use all the resources. It means that all the other databases will stop working. But if you will limit the maximum size of eDTU for the databases inside that pool, for example, to 80%, so you know that you have at least 20% for all the other databases. So this is, in my opinion, it's by default, you need to use it always. And the minimum amount of eDTU that you can configure, meaning that each database inside the pool will have at least this amount of eDTU. Okay, let's close it because, as I said, always I prepared in advance. Have you saw a cooking TV show? Mm-hmm. It's always crazy. The cook come, he prepare a cake, it's look awful. He take it, put in the oven, and he takes something that look like a palace. Okay, so I prepared in advance. And we will go to the first one in order to learn how to manage the Elastic Pool that we have just created. First thing, immediately when you go to the Elastic Pool, you get this board. This is very important. Using this board, you can see several graphs who give you basic statistics. How much resources do you use right now? And with this information, you can decide that maybe we want to configure the pool differently. Maybe we need to allocate more resources to our pool, or maybe less. So if you decided that you want to change something, we will go to the configure option, click it, and basically what you see here, it's the same board that we saw when we created the new pool. So there was nothing to add here, but let's go to the database. Now we already have active databases inside the pool. Here at the bottom, we can get the statistic of the databases separately. Each database, how much resources it's used, how much CPU, how much. If you want to decide what to show us in the statistic, we can use this option, columns. Is this big enough, or I need to enlarge it? Let's make sure that everyone sees. This is basically the option. If you click the option columns, you will get a list of which column you want to show in the statistic table that we have here. Okay, but maybe this is not enough. Maybe you want more flexibility, more statistic options. So we have a separate tool, resource utilities. You can go to this one, and then we get basically, it's not unlimited, but we need at least 3 hours only to show all the options here. You can change the graphs that you see. You can change what you see. You can change how you see. You can change, for example, the timeline. Maybe you want to see only 6 hours. Maybe you want to see more. So this is pretty much flexible. And one of the advantage is that we can see each database that we select together. In the tool before, we only saw the statistics for each database separately. So it's hard to make the connection, to understand what is the relation between them. In this graph, for example, you might notice in a rare case that you have one database that uses everything and all the other are down here. This is a classic case that in most cases mean that maybe we need to take this database outside the pool. It's not behave the same with other databases. So this is a very important tool that can help us. And basically, we showed how to create Elastic Pool, how to manage Elastic Pool, and how to monitor using the portal. Now, I have a small reading before we continue, because in purpose, I didn't tell you everything. You remember the slide that I showed you that we can pick which databases will go inside the pool? And I intentionally told you that we can pick the one that it's not in a pool. And now, my question to you. If you really know, because you know the stuff, so don't answer, this is more like a guess. Try to guess the answer. Let's say that I will pick one of the databases that's already inside a different pool. And I will select it and try to put it in my new pool. What do you think will happen? I will give you 3 options. Select out of those options. Option 1, the database will move from the old pool to my new pool, meaning you need to understand what is the problematic here. Let's say that we already have maintenance task, which we are talking in a bit in this slide. And this maintenance task work on all the pool, all the old pool. So if we are moving the database outside the pool, what we got, it will not work. It will stop work on this specific database. So this is a problematic case. Second option. Second option is that the database will be added to the new pool, meaning the database is going to be in both pools, the old one and the new one. And the third option, we will get an error. So option 1 was moved, option 2 was added, option 3 was error. Can we see the audience in the other places? Check if we can vote. I want to know. Raise your hand if you think that the database is going to move to our new pool. Here we have, that's all. You decided to change your mind?
Or add.
What?
The first one was moved. I don't think it will.
Now we are asking about who think it will move. So we have you. Can you ask them to tell me how many, about percentage?
Yeah. How many is stuck on the road for option number 1?
Move.
The move.
I think Stockholm is for option number 2.
Okay, so let's move to option number 2. Raise your hand if you think that the database will be added to the second pool, so it will be in both pool. Okay, here we have much more hand. Okay, they convince you, so you late. You do. Okay, so we have most of you think that it will be added. Anyone think that the answer will be the third one? We will get an error. So Peter, you are with the error, and this is because Peter said tweet. Okay, I'm just laughing. Can you ask them? Let's see what.
How many in Stockholm vote for number 3, the error one? No one.
No one. We're all for number 2.
100% for number 2.
Okay, we had the same result here. Most of the people say that it will be added for both pool. This means that you don't like money. Think about it. The pool is the way that we pay to Microsoft. We say that this is a shared resources. If the database is going to be in this pool and in this pool, so what, we will pay twice for the activity? So no, this not makes sense because of this. The pool is the way that we pay for the activity. We stay with option 1, move, or option 3, error. The answer is the first one. Only one say the first one. Okay, here, we give you something.
Yes.
I cannot give the people in the stream, I'm sorry. But the answer is that the database will be moved. And since it's only one said it, here we have a nice bag. Thank you. It's 1 or 2. Make sure that I give you 1. We need more. Wait. Don't thank me. Thank the people who sponsor it. I just waste my time to collect it. Okay, so the database will be moved, and this is, in my opinion, very bad solution. But this is what Microsoft chose. Like Peter, I thought, or I wanted to give me an error, or at least alert, but it doesn't. So be careful. This is why I stopped in this point. It's very important to remember. You might not notice you will move a database and you will lose all your maintenance tasks. If you thought you count that it will be executed on this database. Where's home? Oh, if you have question, it's a good time. Any question? Get a gift. No question? Okay, we continue. So we show how to work with the portal. But there are a lot of people who don't like the portal. They prefer to use, for example, the Azure CLI. It's fully supported. You can use the Azure API, the REST API as well if you prefer. And of course, you can use the PowerShell. In fact, it's not just that it's supported by other options. There are options that we can do with the PowerShell which are not supported yet in the portal. So if you want more, you can start to work with the PowerShell. But this doesn't interest us because this is SQL Server User Group. So we are DBA. This is what interests us. And this is totally new. Microsoft extended the language Transact SQL in order to support Elastic Pool, and they added several DMV system table. Let's go and see a demo how to use simple queries to monitor and to control our Elastic Pool. Anyone know this application?
SOS.
Don't say that. Shout!
SOS.
Yeah. If I ask you a question, feel free. Don't interfere in the other time, but when I ask, first one that shout, get it. Yeah, what is this?
It's the SOS.
SOS?
Yeah. Save results.
No. Which application is this? No one know? This is Microsoft new database management studio named SQL Server Operation Studio. Of course, it's free, but it's open source. You can take it from GitHub, and it's fit to any common operation system. You can use it on Linux, Macintosh, Windows, And one feature that I like the most, you don't need to install it. I have it on my disk on key. I have one file for Windows and one file for Linux. And it's not matter where I go in the world. I only need my disk on key, and I have a full management studio. And in fact, I will show you some features that we don't have in SSMS if we will have time. Okay, let's go to our topic. So the first query that we are using is the database service objectives. And using this table, we can get the information about the database regarding the elastic pool and the pricing tier. You can notice, as before, we have several databases inside the pool, and we have several databases which are not inside the pool. So remember this one. And we have, of course, the option to create new databases or to copy existing database in order to create a new database from this. This is not new. What we have new now is that we can use the parameter elastic pool in order to make sure that the new database that we create will be inside our pool immediately. Next, modify. We can use modify in order to add database to a pool or move it from one pool to another. No alert, no error, unfortunately, it will move, be careful. And we can use it in order to take a database which is inside the pool and take it outside so we can manage it as a separate database. For example, in this second query, I take a database which is inside the pool and I give it a pricing tier standard S0. Now, do not, it's not that I don't know how to continue. I want to say 100 times, do not use the queries in the documentation. I made this mistake. So let me help you. First time that I read the documentation, it was in the preview, but it's the same idea. Like everyone, when we see a tutorial, we go through the tutorial step by step. We see a query, we execute it in order to learn, in order to test. So I did this, and continue, and I executed this query, which is from the documentation. And it cost me several or few hundreds of dollars in several minutes. Why? Because someone at Microsoft decided that in the demo for learning, he will use premium P15. He cannot use standard, it's not good for the demo. He cannot use basic, you need to use premium. So be careful before you going through the documentation and start to play. Read before you execute it. It's a real story. It cost me several hundreds of dollars only by learning and check like several minutes after, and this is the result. Okay, one more point that I want to mention. I'm limited by the camera, so I put my leg here, and I remember that Peter said that the camera is until here. So like a wall, I stop and going back. Okay, so another point that I want to mention is that all those queries that I showed you, including modify and take a database outside the pool, for example, to premium P15, will be finished in less than a second. You will execute the query and get the result okay. You must understand that this does not mean that the task was finished. This only tells you that the query was executed okay, and now the task is starting, because now the Azure behind the skin need to do whatever it need to do. Taking a database outside the pool can take minutes and even several hours. It depends on your database. So don't make a mistake. In order to know what is the read status of the database, we will need to monitor, and for this we will continue to the next page of queries. So let's go over some monitoring options. First of all, using the resource stats, the name says everything. We can get statistics about our databases. In this specific query, I take only in the web, you can see that I filter to get only the information about one database. And now we want to see something new, because you said that you are not familiar with this tool. So check this. You see on the right, I will enlarge this. You see this button? This is cool. This is one of the most cool features that we have here. We execute a query. It's not matter which query. Click this button and we get the result as graph. You don't need to learn BI, forget about what people told you. You don't need any reporting tool. You just need to click the button and you can get the result as graph. Okay, so this graph gives you some information about our statistic. Next query, the name is almost the same. This is a new DMV that called DB resource stats, because this is this gives us the statistic for specific database. In order to execute this query, you need to connect to specific database, and you can see the result as graph if you want. So this is the statistic of this specific database. And we get to the new DMV that gives us the operation status. Now, in this result, we can get all the operation that was executed. For example, create database, drop database, alter database. You remember that we spoke about modify, that can be several hours. This is the way to monitor the task if it was ended. If you will notice in the first line, in the first row that we see here, we have a database that was altered, but this is still in progress. Okay, so yes.
How long is the information saved?
How long this is saved? I don't remember. But several minutes, at least you can see back. What is the most important in this is the status. This is the name of the DMV because you need to know what is the status at this time. So the in progress is the most important in this DMV. Okay, it's a good question, just that I don't remember the answer. Next, Elastic Pool resource stats, basically the same name, but this gives us the statistic for the entire pool as a whole. So this is a good place to know if we allocated too many resources, maybe we can allocate more or less. This is the query that will help us. And we can see the statistic as a graph. And now I want to show you a real case scenario. This is a real case that I will show you illustration that we successfully reduce the amount of resource unit by 90%. Again, not 290, by 90, meaning that if we paid for each 100 resource unit we used before, after we move to the Elastic Pool with a simple trick that I will show you, we now pay less than 10 resource unit. Let's go over the trick. Yes, you have the Excel in the session material to download, but this is only illustration. So in this Excel, we can see the activity of one of the databases. Now the story is like this. We have several hundred of databases. The Elastic Pool is here in order to manage multiple databases. If you have only one database, this lecture is not relevant to you at all. But in this case, we have several hundreds of databases which are basically have the same activity behavior. They are very active. You can notice the behavior, but you see this down? This is exactly every 7 days, because during the weekend, there is no activity on the databases, almost no activity at all. Those databases are used for internal worker for our project. So at the weekend, almost no one worked. You can notice the second database behave exactly the same, random, different data, same behavior, and the third database that I selected for the illustration. I just noticed now that this is in Hebrew part of it. Okay, but basically all the presentation is in English. This graph is exactly the first graph, but after we added the maintenance task. What happened here in this scenario, we have a very heavy maintenance task that we need to execute. So we execute it during the weekend when there is no other activity, but still because the maintenance task is so heavy, it's look like a peak up now. We have a heavy maintenance because we are working a lot with MongoDB and SQL Server, and we need to move data from the MongoDB after ETL to the SQL Server and back. So this is the best optimization that basically any DBA will want to do. And we see the same with the second database. We have a peak at the weekend because of the maintenance, and the same in that with the third database. Now, approximately 70 resource units, it's the maximum that we can see in the peaks in this illustration, meaning that if I will want to manage those databases separately, I will need to pay something like approximately 210. I think that if I do a mistake in the math, so tell me. We need to pay 210 for those three databases in the illustration. We try to move this to the elastic pool, and this was the result. We didn't gain anything, almost anything. It went down a bit to 200 resource unit, 200, 210, it's nothing. And if you will check now, you will go to Microsoft documentation, you will ask people that work with Elastic Pool, they will tell you that this case is a case study not to move to Elastic Pool. This case does not fit to Elastic Pool. Why? You have all the peak at the same time, so what it can help us if we share resources? It will not. And this is a mistake. This is the reason that I'm here. So let me show you a small tweak that I did. First of all, I want to give you my basic point of view. The problem with most of the people that will say that this does not fit to Elastic Pool is that they stuck with a specific architecture. Yes, when we are managing each database separately, it's best to do the maintenance when we have low activity on this specific database. But if we think about all the databases as a whole, as one unit, things need to be rethinking. You need to redesign your architecture. So what I did here was this. I divided all the databases into 7 groups. And each day of the week, I execute the weekly maintenance task on a different group of databases. Now, in order to get perfect balance, the group that include the databases for the weekend, it's a bit bigger. So I put a bit more databases on the weekend. And I didn't stop here. I wanted to get perfect balance, and we have monthly maintenance, right? So I did the same. I divided all the databases that we have into 25 groups, different, not the same groups as before. In the maintenance of the monthly, I did each day of the month between the 1st to the 25 on a different group of databases. And I didn't stop here. What next? We have daily maintenance. I think that you can understand the idea. I took the maintenance of the that we execute each day, and usually we all know exactly. Usually we execute it at the night because we have low activity. But now we need to rethink. We need to change the way that we think. We need to think outside the box. This is the most important sentence that I can give you in this lecture or in any lecture. I would say, think outside the box. Don't go. There was a sentence in Hebrew, a phrase in Hebrew I told Peter yesterday. It say, go with your head to the wall. Don't do it. Don't go straight if you have a wall. You can go around it. That's okay. Don't try to go through it. So always think outside the box. And what I did with the daily maintenance, again, I spread all the databases into 24 groups, and each hour of the day I execute the maintenance of a different group. Of course, the group at night, it's bigger to get better balance. And if you need, we didn't need, you can even continue and do it with the hourly maintenance. You have backup every hour. Okay, you can do it by splitting the databases into 60 groups. And each minute in the hour, you can execute the backup or the hourly maintenance on separate group. And you can do it with seconds, etc. And this is basically the way. With using three databases in this illustration, we get 100 resource unit maximum. This is a big difference, but this is three databases. I'm not talking about three. When you do it with 30 or 300, you will get a straight line. You will balance your activity, and this is our goal. Okay, so when to use Elastic Pool? Microsoft have a very nice document. As I said, you need to be careful because this case scenario, they will say, according to the document, you will not find that it's fit for Elastic Pool, but there is a document with some golden rule. So go over it. I wrote some golden rule here in the slide for when you have you need to consider moving to Elastic Pool, but I want to summarize everything to one sentence or one rule. The only rule that is, or the first rule that you need to remember is this. Elastic Pool used shared resource unit, eDTU. eDTU cost 1.5 more than simple DTU, meaning that what you need to check is if you can gain more than 1.5 resource unit, then this is probably something that you need to consider to move to Elastic Pool. This is the main rule to remember. Go over the documentation and get some more golden rule. So we know when we need to think about why and what is our time. Okay, we are back. We need to think why to move to Elastic Pool, and you can notice the first reason, which is basically what I covered until now. Money. We can lower our expenses. So this is a very important, maybe the most important reason, but there are other reasons very important. The second reason is the predicate budget. If you have a lot of databases, it's very hard to monitor each database, what was the activity. And sometimes a database needs a lot of a resource unit for, let's say, one project, and then start to use it, so 1 week. If you manage the databases in the right way, you need now to give it higher pricing tier in order to get more resources. And once you finish the project, you can reduce it. This is great if you have one database. Try to do it with 50 databases or try to monitor 500 databases. It's impossible. So what I see always the client do, that companies do. They say, okay, we cannot monitor. It's impossible to monitor so many databases separately. So we will give it the maximum amount of resource that we use. And this is a waste of money, because it's meant that all the time that you do not need the maximum, you still pay. Using Elastic Pool, as I showed you, you share the resources. So, okay, today this database use more, tomorrow this one will use more resources. In average, they all share the resources. The next reason to move to Elastic Pool, it's very important, and it's a bit less known. It's the downtime. Every time that you change the pricing tier, you change the configuration of the database, if you manage it as a separate database, you feel a downtime. You work on the database, you change something. But if you work with Elastic Pool, you don't have any downtime most of the time. Why? Because we don't do anything with the database. We only change the metadata. We only change the information of a wrapper for the database. We do not change anything with the database. This wrapper, Elastic Pool, we can change the pricing tier, we can change something in the configuration, and usually you will not even feel any downtime. And the last reason is that we can manage those databases in the pool all together using a tool that's called Elastic Jobs. And this will be the next part of the session. So let's take a 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, let's take a 5-minute break here.
Okay. So let's take 5 minutes and we come back to see how we manage those databases together using the Elastic Job.
Yeah.
This is the time for question. Not because I have problem to answer in the break, or I want the break for myself, because everyone needs to answer to hear the answer. So yes, we have here a good question.
Yes, I have a question. What should I think about when I try to think if I should have one or more Elastic pools? What characteristics of my database help me decide if they go in one pool or many?
Okay. Question is basically simple. We have a lot of databases, and the question is, do I need to put all in one pool, 2 pool, 3 pool, and etc. This is basically something that I cannot answer without going and learn the system. But I can give you some rules, golden rules. First of all, you need to remember that the number of databases inside the Elastic Pool is limited. At this time, at the portal, you will find out that the maximum that we can put inside the pool is 500. And it's not in all the pricing tiers. So first of all, we're limited by the system. So if you have 1,000 databases, it's not matter if you want to manage everything in one pool. You cannot. It's not supported at this time. So this is the most important rule. And secondly, we need to think about how the databases use the resources. Again, you need to think about the databases as a whole and not each database separate. You do not just take databases which are not related to one another and put it in a pool just because I heard a lecture from Ronen and he said that the Elastic Pool is good. No, it's each case you need to check if it's fit. If I have databases that I need to manage together, so this is a reason to put them in one pool. I can use Elastic Job, which we are just talking now. If I have databases which I know that they act randomly, but pretty much the same, so I know that they are fit to each other by behavior. So this might be something that you need to consider to move to the Elastic Pool. So the answer is you need to check how they behave, the databases. You need to check the limitation of the system, like the limitation of the Azure, and then you need to get a decision, the conclusion regarding this information. Okay? This give you an answer. So there isn't a specific number, It depends on how the databases behave.
Yeah, and my question was down to what are the characteristics of the behavior of the database that I should look for? Size?
For example, no.
It's
It's not related to size. Basically, it's related to behavior. Behavior of the resource unit, not the database. Usually, it's about behaving. How do we manage them? How they behave? How they use the resource unit. Not how much, but how. If they use the resource unit at the same time, like we saw in the beginning in my scenario, if I didn't came with this tweak, everyone will tell you that this is a case that does not fit the elastic pool. So maybe this someone else would say, okay, let's split it to 10 elastic pool.
okay.
Because the behavior of the database is what we need to take into consideration. Okay, so this is the most important, how the databases behave with one another. For example, if I see a database that have activity only on Sunday, and I have another database which only have activity on Monday, and another database will only have activity on Tuesday and so on. So this looks good for the elastic job, for the elastic pool. They can share resources, okay? So if you see one database behave like this, the other one down, and next it's the opposite, so they can share resources probably. Okay, so we say that the fourth option that I wrote about why to move to the elastic pool is because it gives us an option to manage those databases together. And this is something that we do using the elastic job. In short, elastic job is an entity that gives us an option to execute the same query on multiple databases. Now, the next image, this is my original image. You will not find in the documentation, at least at this time, because yesterday in the lecture, someone from Microsoft took a picture of this. So maybe in several days it will be in the documentation, but at this time you don't have one place that you can see everything together. This is a small illustration that I put everything together according to how I see it, all the elements that related to the elastic job. I will go through all the elements. Let's start from the right upper corner. Target. Target is a set of databases which we want to execute the job on them. There are two targets that we can use at this time. First is elastic pool. If we select elastic pool as a target, meaning that all the databases inside the pool will be part of the target. The query will be executed on them. But we have another option. We can create a set of databases manually, just choose which databases we want to have in the target, not related to elastic pool, and use this list as a target. But this is not supported in the portal. So using the portal, at this time, the target can be only elastic pool. Next, we move to this direction. We go to the elastic job. The elastic job, it's actually the query that we want to execute. This query will be executed on all the databases in the target. And we move down. We say requested task. Well, this is like the triggers. Those are the options that can trigger the execution of the job. And now I'm coming to the big cloud image. This cloud represents a resource group that we need to use. I recommend to use a special resource group for this. And inside this resource group, we need 4 elements. First of all, the cloud service, which is the main service that will speak to all the other elements. Secondly, we need a service bus. This element in charge on the sync of the execution, and we need a storage. Why? We need log. We need to know if the execution succeeded or not. And if it succeeds on each one of the databases separately, all the information need to be logged inside the Azure storage. And of course, we need the control database. The control database is a database that includes all the information, the queries that we use, the target that we use, all the metadata of the system is stored in this control database. Let's see a short demo of how it's look. So we said that using the portal, we can use only a elastic pool. It's not supposed to use a target, which is not a pool. So let's go to our pool list. And inside the pool, you can notice that we have created job. Simply click it. If this is the first time that you create a job in this specific subscription, you will get this board. This is a one-time board. Basically, this is all in preview. So you need to confirm. You need to confirm that you accept the term of use. Microsoft do not take any responsibility if all your database will be deleted. I don't know. It's not important. Just read it. And once you confirm, we can move to the next step. Install the job. I don't like this phrase, but this is what Microsoft used in the documentation. What it means? What is installing a job? The procedure of installing a job means to create all the elements which I mentioned before behind the skin. How we do it with the portal? Very simple. All we need to do is to add the credential information for the control database. This is not related to our Elastic Pool databases. You remember this is a different resource group. This is something else. This is for the managing the job. And choose a username, choose a password. Once you click create, all those elements will be created for you automatically behind the skin if you are using the portal, the default. Okay, let's go to the list of resource group that we have, and we will see what actually we have that created for us automatically. You can notice the first one in the list. This is the default name. I didn't choose this name for the new resource group. The name is Elastic Data Job. And inside this resource group, you can see all the elements that I showed you in the image. Okay, we can continue now to create the job itself. So again, we click create job, but now it's already installed. So we get this simple form. Here you can enter the name of the job and username and password. This is not the same username and password as before. Before it was a credential username and password for the control database. This is a username and password for the, any idea?
Elastic Pool.
Exactly, for the target. It say in the presentation, so you only need to read what it say there. But you need to think that I give you hints all the time. So check the presentation, the answers are there. Yes, this is the answer, you are right. This is username and password for the target server. So fill this. Of course, you can use any query, pretty much any query that you want to execute. And that's it, save it. And for the sake of the demo, I created in advance job so we can go and manage it. Let's go manage the job. You can notice that we have some information about the last time that we executed this job. If you want to execute it manually, you just need to click one. The job will be executed on all the databases in the pool. Here at the bottom, you can see a table with the status of the execution. The job needs to prepare itself. It cannot execute on the database directly. Once this is all completed, it's ready to be executed. The second table will start to change, and you will notice the status of the execution on each one of the databases inside the target. We have another option here, which is to view the script. Unfortunately, you cannot edit the script. So if you created the job with a query and you want to change one character in the code, you need to drop it. If you are using the portal here, you have only option to view it, or you can drop it and create a new job. And now that we have time, I want to move to something that it's a bit off topic. I mentioned that Elastic Pool and Elastic Job, it's only two elements from a set of tools that called Elastic Database tools. So we don't have time to go over all the tools, and not all of them here in the slide, but I created a small system. I designed a small system for shared databases. And let's go over the elements which I decided to use. Now remember, each one of those elements in the Elastic tools can be used separately. You can design any system that you want. For example, we can use only Elastic Pool, not without any job if we don't need. We can use job without Elastic Pool. I told you that the target can be Elastic Pool or a list of databases which are not related to Elastic Pool. Each one of the tools can be used separately or combined with others. So for the sake of this demo, I decided to give you a sample of a full system. Let's see which tools I used. Shared map database. Basically like the control database in the job, this is the database that will include all the metadata of our shared system. So this is our metadata database. Let's go down. We see Elastic Database Query. Elastic Database Query is a tool that allows us to execute cross-database queries. So we need it if we are working with shared database. We want to get information from all the database, execute the query on all the databases, and this tool can behave like entry point for our system. So our application can use this tool. Next, split merge tool. I think that the name says everything. If we need to insert data to the shared database, we need to split it according to the rules that we have. This tool in charge on taking the data. For example, if you execute insert, using this tool and according to our rules, the data will be splitted between the different databases. And of course, if we are using, for example, aggregate or simple select, if we want to get data from all the shared databases, this tool in charge to merge it together. Down client library is a set of classes that you can use if you are developers. Basically, if you use .NET or Java, you can use it. Next, we have a set of databases. Simple Azure SQL Databases. I decided to put them all under one Elastic Pool, so it will be simple to manage them if I want using the Elastic Job, for example. But you don't have to put it with the pool. And I have a riddle. I will give a gift to someone that knows the answer. Think outside the box of a SQL server. This architecture should remind you something. What did it remind you?
Looks like a NoSQL structure for like when you shard in big data center, like a Facebook app or
big data. This is architecture for big data. In fact, you already got a, no, he got a, okay, you need a, I will give you to choose. Yeah, I have too many. I will give you a choose. Look, I have a bag like he got. You can choose two if you want this. Or I have this. This is neat. It's a light. It's a light that you can charge from the computer, it's USB. I don't know exactly what it is. So you prefer the bag or you want this?
I want the lighter or the flash.
You want this instead of the
I've got lights at home.
Yes, so this is the architecture of big data, and in fact, this is why I designed this virtual system. That means this is the exact architecture where I am for MongoDB. I don't have a clicker, so I will use the computer. Let me go back and forward. You only need to change the names. And this is exactly MongoDB. This is the architecture. And this is the same basic architecture as data warehouse as well. This is the basic architecture for big data. So you can download the presentation, play with it, and see that basically we use this architecture. And I added several slides here, which are, I took them from a different lecture that I have. I will not talk about them, just go through them. It's a lecture about Azure Data Warehouse. You can see that basically we have all those elements, but with different names. The big advantage that we have when we are using Elastic Pool over MongoDB or a data warehouse, we are not limited under a box that tell us which architecture we need to use. We can design our system. We can choose if we want to use Elastic Pool as part of our big data or we don't want. Okay, so it gives us more flexibility. If you are developers, this meeting is not a point for developers, but if you are, you can go to this link and download a full project of shared data from Microsoft directly. I highly recommend it if you are using .NET, for example. And this is time for question before we go to summarize everything. So do you have a question? Do they have a question? Yes.
I have a question about continuous deployment of these types of architecture. Do I, like, if I develop an architecture like this in, let's say, Visual Studio or somewhere, how do I make sure it builds in VSTS or anything and can automatically deploy it?
This is really outside the scope of the lecture, but simply go to this link.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a good example. It uses almost the same architecture that I gave you. In this system, they don't use Elastic Pool or Job, but after it's already built, you can add more elements and make it fit you. In this example, I will go over very fast what it do. When you click option 1, of course, you need to check the code, but the application wants to do in the client side. When you click 1, all the shared databases will be created for you, 3 shared databases with a rule that data with the value 1 to 100 will go to database 1, value 200 to 100 to 200 will go to database 2, and etc. After this created, this takes a long time because it's create all the architecture. Option 2, add another shell. If you click 2, so you will have an option to select what range you want to store in the new shared database. So when you click it, it will add another database to the shell. Option 3, you can start insert row. It simply create row with random data. Yeah. So each row will go to a different database with the shell. And you can use option 4 in order to select the data, and you will get all the data from all the databases in the set, and you will get information from where it came. Option 5, just to clean everything. Option 6 to remove. So this is a good starting point to what you want. Okay. Mm-hmm. Any more questions?
I'm not just saying that.
Sorry?
Just to summarize.
Do you have a question, Stockholm?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you said the questions are the ones you have a PowerPoint slide for. I was going to say the best presentations are the ones that tell me I've been doing something wrong for years. So thank you very much for coming.
Okay.
I only heard that thanks for coming, so thank you. It's not very clear to you, so if they have a question, just tell me what they ask. Okay, do you have any question in the stream? I cannot give them gift, but I want to hear questions. Think about questions. I love questions. Try to find something that I don't know the answer. I challenge you. I don't mean that I know all the answer. I just mean that it's good to see what I don't know, then I will go to learn. Okay, you can think about question and ask. By the way, I highly recommend to use forums, not to ask question only, but to answer to other. My opinion is that by answering other people, you learn. It's the best way to learn is by giving answers. So this is off topic. Let's go to summarize what we did. Of course, we went through Elastic Pool, pretty much all the introduction that we need, and several minutes about Elastic Jobs. I showed you a real case scenario where we successfully reduced the amount of resource units by 90%. Now you know how we did it. I will go over it in very short time just to remind you. The basic idea is that when we manage a single database and we want to get a balance, we always want to get a balance activity, then we will do the maintenance task where we have the lower activity. This is perfect for a single database. When we have multiple databases which are managed as separate database, we will do the exact same architecture. It's good, it's the best. But if we are working on shared resources, we need to change the way that we think. We need to think about all the database as one unit, and maybe now we can spread the activity in a different way, and we get perfect balance. Okay, I started the presentation with this slide, and I like to do like a 360 and come to the same point. This is a good slide to close, because here we have two more features which I mentioned. First of all, we have the option to use manage instance, which is a new option to deploy our databases. Like the Elastic Pool manage instance, give us option to share resources between the databases, but this is where it starts and this is where it ends. It is totally different feature, and this is actually fit perfect for the next lecture. So I can come next year or next week. Okay, it's a bit difficult from Israel, but I highly recommend you to go to check about this option before you choose which deployment option fit to you. Next, I mentioned the vCore option for pricing model. In one sentence, if you need more flexibility, if you need to control the exact number of cores that you need for the system, then you should consider, or at least check, if using the vCore option is better for you. And the presentation already ready for you to download. Just go to my Facebook page. You can download the presentation, all the Excels, all the queries there, ready to download. I highly recommend to follow my Facebook page, because I'm not using it for personal stuff. I use it only or mostly for technical stuff. So I don't have a lot of messages. It will not add you like 10 messages every day that, oh, I went to the beach. It's not there. It's mostly if there is announcements or something very new, or if I write a new blog, it will be there. As I said, you can go there and follow it. And I highly recommend to myself always to ask for feedback. Please give me feedback here on Facebook. I live for feedback. The feedback is what makes us go around the world and spread the word. So do it. And this is a good time to say thanks to the people that sponsor my flight here. It's the sponsor for the Intelligent Cloud Conference. And above all, thank you.
Thank you.